Is up, YouTube? Chet Guthrie, the Dream Poet here, coming to you all with another fascinating people and extraordinary stories. Anyway, guys, we are nearing to the end of the season. I'm loving it, loving the holiday season. Today in my hometown, it dropped down to 7 degrees, but that's neither here nor there. But anyway, guys, I'm going to introduce to y'all someone who is a very close friend of mine, someone who is very, very well off in the Jacksonville film industry, and also I just don't know how to properly describe him. Many would say he is a prodigy. He's very successful. He's a very successful entrepreneur. He has made it to six-digit profit. He has one television show that's already on Amazon Prime, and he also has a short film that has been viewed almost 1.2 million times. Anyway, guys, without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you all my friend Matthew Manyak. How you doing, Matt?
Doing good, Chad. How about you? Thanks so much for having me on the show today.
Oh, no problem. Glad you could come on. But anyway, since we're here, why don't you introduce yourself? Give us your introductory of who Matt Miniak is.
Honestly, I don't think that I could really beat your intro here. For those of you who don't know, my name is Matthew Manyak. I am a filmmaker, author, and entrepreneur. I live in St. Augustine, Florida, and I do all things video production, post production, multimedia, and marketing. I've developed a business, Double M Digital, scaled it up to 6 figures, and now we're just growing that, continuing to build that, and just keeping one foot in the film and production, or the film and TV pool, and play nice with the other kids wherever I can.
That is true. So let me ask you this, Matt. I guess where did all this begin? Where was the genesis of this entire journey in the filmmaking industry?
Okay, so in the filmmaking industry, got you. So I well, it really was. I started off actually as a writer initially. Hey, that's me.
Yep,
So
that's
I
me.
started off as a writer. I wrote in like elementary school, middle school, like little stories and stuff in my English notebook. My friends started to check them out and were like, "Hey, this is really cool." And then I was like, "These are pretty cool too. Let's do something with them." And at the time, it was either going to be like bringing them to life through theater or bringing them to life through film and video. And I was like, I, the way that my attention span worked as a kid, I couldn't sit through a 3 hour stage play, but I could sit through a 2 hour movie. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and go do that. And did a couple short films there, just kind of friends playing Nerf War on YouTube, and that eventually grew in scale to doing short films, which then grew into Deathless on Amazon Prime, which is my show, and now it's grown into feature films and then other episodic projects, and even from there, just kind of branching off into the commercial and corporate space where I do most of my work now. But like I said, I still have a toe in the pool of film and TV.
Awesome. What was that first? What was your? Let me ask you this: What was your first real award-winning film that you made you say, "This is what I want to do"?
Yeah, so really the first film that I'll say really kind of got my name out there, really kind of got me exposed to the film industry, and really kind of got my name kind of into the doors, and kind of got my foot in the door, I should say, to where I was able to then leverage those opportunities to help other people and grow my career. Was the short film After the Fall, and we were able to create that within the scope of Douglas Anderson School of the Arts in Jacksonville. It was my senior year of high school, my senior project actually, and made that during that program. And I just was like, I'm gonna see how this plays with the big dogs, and kind of started sending it off to some of the bigger festivals. And just through that, it ended up going off to the Times Square AMC in New York and the Chinese Theater out in Los Angeles.
So it
And then
just
and then
kind of went.
also I think that was the one that you mentioned that did the 1.2 million. I forget what the numbers are, but it's definitely up there.
I mean that's absolutely incredible, especially coming just almost out the gate of through high school. Um, well, as we'll get into it, a couple of the slides. This is a personal favorite logo of mine, but tell me about your company, Alignment Entertainment.
So I'm actually not with Alignment Entertainment anymore, but we Alignment Entertainment was a film and TV production company running out of Tallahassee, Florida, during my time at Florida State University, during my time living out there, and we created Deathless under the Alignment umbrella. Had a couple other projects that we created during the time of Alignment's life, and I left the company what 2019 2020 something like that, and Thomas Curry became the CEO and is continuing to operate the business.
Cool, cool. Well, as we'll get into, of course, here is the pro. Well, I guess what would it be? The cover photo, I
Yep.
guess.
Movie
Um,
poster, key art.
yeah, I mean, I was kind of like, when I was kind of getting a few more slide photos to talk about. I saw this one, and I know that Deathless was one of your babies, and it's like just the story behind it, how it got there, Anyway, I guess from an independent filmmaker, how did I guess explain to me what Deathless is and how you all moved forward with that.
So Deathless was an episodic series that was produced partly while I was in college, partly after, through Alignment Entertainment and with the help of a lot of the Tallahassee film community and Florida film community at large. We brought in talent from across the state. We brought in crew from across the state, and by the time that the project was done, had crew from across the country that was working on this thing. And it was just a really great experience working with the team, working with the creative minds behind it. I kind of came in more as like the say business mind, so to speak, and worked with Thomas on that. We were kind of the main business minds behind it, but we had a lot of help making it, and it really wouldn't have been possible without the team that we were working with to create it. Um, but it was a lot of called in favors. It was a lot of networking. It was a lot of negotiations with a lot of people that were involved on it, because of doing what we were doing at that scope wasn't really something that any of us had really done before. But my experience with working on After the Fall as a short film is really what helped me be able to come in and help, like, help Thomas realize his vision as best we could with the resources that we had. And now it's distributed in the U.S., UK, Germany, and Japan, available on Amazon Prime.
Nice. So
Yes,
so
sir.
what is the series exactly about?
It's a love story, just like everything else in Hollywood.
Yeah.
um, but no, it's basically the story of Malcolm and his search for himself, essentially. Um, it's been so long since this show. It's crazy, but um, so Malcolm is one of our main characters, played by Thomas Curry, as well, and his whole journey is basically uncovering his memories, because his memories kind of gone up to a certain point, so he has to uncover that and kind of search to find who he is, because in this world that Thomas and Hootie, the creators, really kind of developed, um, this world, uh, there's a lot of I guess we can call it class violence or race violence or discrimination that's going on. So it's very topical in that sense. Um, but there's a lot of other subplots and undertones that get discussed and kind of commented on through the writing, that is behind the show. But if you want to see what it's about, I encourage you to check it out on Amazon Prime.
Hmm. Well, I will. I'll put it in the description box below. That way, people can check it out. I mean, it's a good series. I like it personally, especially working with a few people that were on front. I guess that kind of came from Deathless over to After the Fall and the feature film. One second. Again, another photo. Who is that, by the way?
That's Bree. She plays Chloe
Hmm.
in the
You know,
series.
I was, I was going to make a crack about someone that also works in the Jacksonville film industry, but I don't know how to turn it into a joke, and you know who I'm talking about.
Well, let's not crack jokes about people.
Yeah,
We're not going to do that today.
yeah. I mean, it's anyway. Thought I'd, but anyway, since we're here, um, I guess tell everyone. I mean, tell everyone about the feature film that is After the Fall.
So After the Fall, the feature film is a continuation of the story that takes place during After the Fall, the short film, focusing on similar tones, focusing on similar themes, and basically just continues the story of Alexa, um, played by Alyssa Moody in the feature, and basically her coming to terms and her what's the word, coming of age. It's essentially coming of age story in a way, um, talking and focusing in on a character's psychology and how the environment of a zombie apocalypse event shapes that character's growth for better or worse. So we have a pretty sizable cast. I mean, it's a smaller cast than Deathless, but still a good number of people, and it's continued to delve deeper into that concept of psychological development within that environment. And again, for better or worse, we have some people that, or some characters, I should say, that it really kind of focuses in on how it shapes them for the better and how it makes them appreciate the value of a human life more. But then on the flip side, it also can corrupt the minds of other people, make them more mentally and emotionally unstable, and in some cases, subject them to this sense of dogma or egotism that becomes infectious. And you'll have to see the rest of the movie to find out.
Hmm. Well, by the way, everyone, since we are talking about this, I was actually an extra. Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
Thank you, Chet. Thank you, Chet.
Oh, oh no, I mean, I'm glad I could help out. I mean, if y'all hear the zombie noises in the background, if they got used, that was yours truly.
And don't forget, you've got some screen time.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, because we were out at God. What? I guess that kind of actually kind of leads into another question of mine. I mean, I guess we were out at what was that park called? It's
I
like we
forget.
were
It's been so long.
anyway. It's like we were finishing like the final shot, like the end of. I think we were supposed to use a drone, but the drone didn't get used, and like you all used a golf cart, and that's kind of.
Oh yeah, yeah. I forget where that was, but yeah. I mean, it was a cool scene, and you are in the cut. I do remember that.
Well, anyway, maybe I can finally get my start in Atlanta doing that because
There we
it's
go. There
well.
we go.
But then again, Atlanta's Atlanta. I digress. Um, so anyway, I guess for those who are aspiring in film but think that it's impossible, um, I mean, I guess that'd be something typically a question for the end. But like, what would you tell them? Like that. You know that the things that they're dealing with is actually more or less in their head, and rather than the anyway. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, there. And it's funny that you mentioned that because I actually had seen a quote either yesterday or today. I mean, when you get to be my age, the days just kind of blend together. But um, the quote was something along the lines of "He conquers who endures." So when you ask to say what is or is it possible or is it impossible, it's based on the individual. So if you go into it knowing that it's going to be tough, it's going to be challenging, it's going to take a long time, you're going to be tired, you're going to put blood into it, you're going to put sweat into it, you're going to cry a lot, you're going to put tears into it, one way or the other. And if you go into it knowing that, and then when it happens, inevitably, then it's like, okay, cool, I expected this. And then you just keep going until you get where you want to be. It's the whole concept of never giving up, right? It's like you if you never give up, then you can't be beaten. But if you accept defeat, then it's over. And it really just kind of harkens back to the individual because for me, if I'm setting my mind on something and I commit to it, then it's like whatever that is, it's getting done one way or the other. I don't care if I'm up for 72 hours straight. You've seen that side of me,
Yes, yes, I
being up
have.
for 72 hours. Doesn't matter. Like I will not eat for 72 hours if the task demands that. I will not drink water for 72 hours if the task demands it. Things. Granted, it's not the healthiest choice to make,
Yeah.
um, but it's like it just depends on like how far are you willing to go? What are you willing to do? But you also need to have the in your head what you're not willing to do because then you'll just follow every single kind of spawning trail. So you got to have that direction and that focusedness of mind, if you will. But the short answer to your question is nothing's impossible unless you say it's impossible.
Hmm.
As cliche as it is, but it's true. Because
Yeah.
I had a lot of people that told me it was impossible to make $100,000 in a year, and it's like there was another quote that I saw. I forget who said it, but it was like the the first million is challenging. They use a different word, but I'm not going to use that word today. But the first million is challenging. The second million is inevitable. I just scale it down. The first 100,000 is challenging, but now that I've done it, I know how to do it and I can replicate it. And then the second 100,000 is inevitable. Could be doing that this next year. We'll see.
Heck yeah.
But
But what?
I was
Oh,
gonna say like just again the concept of nothing's impossible unless you say it's impossible.
yeah. And I mean,
It's all up to the individual.
I mean, that's, I mean, that's the baseline. I mean, you know me with my this YouTube channel, Dream Poet. I mean, I'm guessing probably the first year and a half, people told me that my vlogs sucked, and they told me to get off YouTube. But when I hit that first 1,000 subscribers, and then one of my videos hit 100,000, and I actually had money coming in, I saw their reactions change. Well, some
Oh
people
yeah,
they didn't care, but I mean,
there was I forget if this was one that I came up with or if I saw it somewhere, but it's something that I live by, and it's yesterday they hated me, today they love me. Both days I got paid, and that's really just kind of that's how YouTube works in that regard. It's like you start off, like you start building a channel. People, a lot of people don't like seeing other people successful for whatever reason. Me, I'm like, if you're doing something you enjoy, I want to see you successful doing it. But it's like at the same time, it's like you got to start somewhere, and
yep,
which you did, and then now you've grown it to the channel that it is today, and you're making money off of it. So it's like uh, you don't have to care what other people think. If you're doing what you enjoy and you're making money off of it, how's it getting better than that? Like
yep,
legit.
yeah. I mean, and it's, oh, where was my thought there? I mean, kind of makes me think about. Anyway, I don't know how to put it in. I don't know how to put it into words with what I wanted to say there. Um, I will say though, I mean, well, no, we won't get in there. Anyway, I guess we will get back to,
Behind the scenes.
yes. I want to hear the behind the scenes stories from the making of this feature film that I know will be a blockbuster.
Long days, long nights, lots of coffee, lots of alcohol. That's the secret.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much like I guess. What was it like when you had that first official day of shooting? Like, what was going on in your mind?
I mean, it felt like I was back in the game for a bit, and because I was like, it was like, what was it? I remember we shot one of the most emotional sequences, and I was kind of like in the whole film, I was kind of worried that the chemistry with the talent wouldn't be there, at least because it was the first day. But it was interesting because our two main characters, played by Josh and Alyssa, they knew each other before this film, and so the chemistry was there. They're both phenomenal actors, and like the scene came out amazing. And it's literally one of my it's I would say it's one of my top two favorite scenes in the entire film, that we shot out the first day, and I was like, this is great. So it ended up being like a really good experience, and I'm glad that I had it. It taught, like, filming this film, making this film taught me a lot about myself. And truth be told, I would not be where I am today if I didn't go through what I went through on this film.
Hmm. Well, speaking of that, I mean, this film is one of the rare occasions where you all filmed like right after they slightly lifted the regulations on COVID or the pandemic. So, what was
Yep.
it like? I mean, I was in that. I mean, I was working, both as a PA, and an extra. But what was it like, working under an additional amount of stress and precautions?
More coffee, more alcohol. But no. I mean, the whole COVID thing, it shut us down mid shoot, like midway through production. Like, so, like, it wasn't like, oh, we had 2 days of shooting and I could cut my losses from a financial standpoint, if that were the case. But it was like, no, I'm like 70% of my budget in. We're 60% of the film shooting in. I've got like everything on the back end was kind of already like moving in a certain direction. I was like, I just gotta keep waiting until this thing wraps up and everyone's clear to go back into it. And I mean, of course, obviously, when the time came, there were the additional like COVID protocols that we had to follow and all that stuff. And I mean, I'm not going to go into how I personally feel about how the administration handled everything, but like it just posed another layer of challenge and another layer of logistical complexity to an already logistical mountain of what we were trying to pull off here. But again, through the film, it taught me that if I can make a film that gets halfway cut off through COVID, I can do anything because of just how logistically complicated that was. Like, I mean, I'm managing teams internationally on different projects right now for my business that I would not be as comfortable doing having if I didn't have the opportunity to manage the logistical elements of this film. Additionally, it also taught me how emotionally tied I was to money and how emotionally tied I was to the process of filmmaking. So, in a sense, this film making or the making of this film, I should say, helped to emotionally detach me from money, emotionally detach me from projects, and give me a much more objective scope on life in general, and really tested my boundaries as far as uh, what I would and would not put up with as a creative, as a business professional, and as an individual. And yeah, like it was a lot of just very coming of age experiences, I should say, through the making of the film. But now I kind of embody a much more stoic philosophy approach to business and to life. And that has helped me tremendously in the past year to grow my business to where it is today and where it's looking to go within the next 2 years.
Hmm. Well, darn, that's a lot. Um,
Sorry.
oh, it's all good. I mean, it's totally true. I mean, that actually that you mentioned that. I mean, I have a personal story when when I when I came on as an extra first time working on this project. Um, I was, of course, I was being painted up by Ben. Darn it, what's Ben's last name?
Ben
Um,
Holland,
Ben
amazing
Holland.
makeup
There we go.
artist.
Ben. Anyway, great makeup artist, really, really phenomenal guy. Um, but I just remember as we're sitting there at the table, the larger gentleman that had come on that day, he was talking about how the first COVID patient had arrived in Tampa. I think it was Tampa. They had arrived in Tampa. They had him quarantined, closed off. Everything was good. But I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, I was just like, there is no way that that this can, you know, implode. Looks like it's captured. Everybody's freaking out. It's kind of like, anyway. I won't go there, but I thought that everything was going to be all right, but then not even a month later, I had just gotten back from doing a vlog at Crystal River, Florida. They shut everything down, but
Yep.
and I was just like, well, this sucks. Um, but yeah. Now, as we're going on in these photos, there is one particular scene that I've heard talked about over and over again, just because it was like, you all took something that would have been like $100,000 or more scene, and you all cut it down to like into just a few $100s, and that would be, well, this photo right here. Um, so anyway, like, what was this scene, in your own words?
Logistically complicated.
Yeah.
I mean, the blessing was that we had a great team that was working with us for this whole weekend that we were doing this scene, or scenes, because basically the way that we were scheduling it is we had to set up a warehouse to look like a survivor camp, then destroy it that night, shoot the destroyed camp scenes the second day, and then get everybody out so we could fix the warehouse back up to its regular operating capacity before Monday morning. And like, yeah, it was a long weekend, but again, great team that we were working with. Everybody was dialed in, um, very focused and very creative with what we could do in the space. And we were working with a really great warehouse manager, that pretty much gave us free roam of a couple spaces within the warehouse to do what we needed to do for the film. So I mean, just lots of blessings in the creation of this sequence, or these sequences, especially. Um, but again, it was a lot of coffee and no sleep,
Hmm.
no alcohol during that sequence. At least by me. I can't speak for everybody else, but I don't know. I cannot confirm nor deny.
Well, now that you mention that, I'm just joking. But well, I
Busted,
guess do what?
busted. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
So I guess, what's it like to work in the Jacksonville Jackson Jacksonville film industry? I know it's not as big as Atlanta, but I know it's
Yeah.
there.
No, I mean, we've got some great talent that I've had the opportunity to work with. But it's funny, I've actually kind of not really been too involved in Jacksonville, as far as film and TV goes. I'm doing really great, I feel, in the span of like corporate and things of that nature, like commercial stuff. But for films, I'm actually going down more to. I'm finding myself more between Orlando and Tampa for things like that. I don't know why. I just find that I've although I've met and worked with some great people in Jacksonville, I just find that there's a higher caliber in Orlando at least, and there's more people quantity wise and volume wise that are hungrier and that I feel understand the hustle a little bit more than a lot of the people that I've worked with in Jacksonville. Um, but again, that's just my experience. I could be wrong, but again, there are a few really great people in Jacksonville that I still do some work with, um, and actually, one of them, uh, Jared Rush, I do a lot of work with him as far as like the commercial side, and we're in talks to do a couple film documentary type projects here within the coming years.
Like any particular topic on what those documentaries are about, or is it still all zip shut?
Yeah, it's a bit zipped up right now, but if you follow me on Instagram, then people can see.
Hmm. Well, speaking of documentaries, I mean, we'll have to talk about my
Dark Tales.
again. Yep, Dark Tales of the Old City. I mean, it as of right now, I have not shelved. Well, I've got it shelved. But anyway, I figured, for what we had, I mean, I think it's an interesting talk. Um, but what it was, well, no, Matt, I feel like, well, what am I trying to say? I
I don't
guess
know.
it's just a matter of, I mean, because I feel like, I mean, well, I know you were like my right hand man in that entire project. But what Dark Tales of the Old City was, it was a docudrama based story. Phone just went off. Was a is a docudrama based series that were film that would have been featured or would have featured St. Augustine, Florida's most I guess most obscure haunted houses, haunted buildings, what have you, and it would have brought them to life in almost, I want to say, kind of like a paranormal witness
Yeah,
style, mixed in with a little bit of scariest places on earth with that narration style, and anyway, I really wish we had gotten it off the ground before I left Florida, but I guess that's I guess in your opinion, what would you have to say about this project cuz you were kind of like my mirror and my go-to guy.
yeah. I mean, I feel like there was some potential in it, and we had a lot of the building blocks that we needed. It's just a matter of just like you said, getting it off the ground and getting things locked in. But I mean, it was what's it called, you had moved, like you moved, and there were some things that came up. I know on a couple other fronts between myself and some of the other teammates, and we just had to like move on. But that doesn't mean that the project is dead. So we can always revisit it in the future. So
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's just one of those things, that I hate. Well, I hate the medical issues that I had that came up as a result. But I don't know. I mean, I'm feeling better. It's time to get back up. It's time to start, playing with the Rubik's cube one more time and open up the hypothetical Pandora's box. Well, the good version of Pandora's box because the other one's bad. Um, but I'm trying to think of something I wanted to ask you about. Um,
is it on the next slide?
well, unfortunately, I am out of slides.
That's okay. Well,
Um,
we can pull back on the slides and just go back to a talk show.
okay, all right, but anyway, I guess there is another filmmaker that I would say is probably, well, I wouldn't say on par, but pretty close. I'll say, I mean, Lee Gayat's very talented in what he does. I'd say you all are probably the two heads of that is the Jacksonville film industry. I've worked with both you guys. But I know he's not right here right now. But tell me, like, I mean, I know you've worked with him on this. Uh, can you tell me about your involvement in the what will be the documentary? I believe it'll be a documentary. Passage.
So I was involved with Flying Ostrich Media. I did some work with them for a bit, and that was kind of before like Passage, say quote unquote, took off, because Lee is doing some great work, taking his flight around and making the documentary that goes along with it. But I mean, I really can't speak to the project or my involvement on it because I really don't know where, like, as far as um, what pieces that I might have been doing that would get used, if any. But again, I think they're doing something really, really great with the project and with the mission of Passage. But it's not something that I can speak to as far as being involved in it.
Mm. Well, of course, I figured maybe. Anyway, I figured maybe you had worked with him a little bit on that. I guess really, since making a film is crazy, like legitimately crazy, because there's a lot of stuff that happens. What would you say is the craziest thing you have ever seen or has happened to you while working on After the Fall, or maybe even any other film?
Uh, that's tough. It's like I feel like there's been a lot of crazy things. Because I'm also trying to think of like things that like also wouldn't like incriminate other people. So, well, okay, maybe not one that was necessarily on a film set, but um, I did walk into a Starbucks one time, and they're like, "Hey, you're that film guy, right?" And they already knew what my order was, and like, "We got you." And I was just like, "What?" And they got the order right too. So I was like, "All right, hey, look, mom, I made it." Kind of moment in that. It was the Starbucks at the St. John's Town Center.
Hmm.
So, but I will always remember that.
You would finally made it up on it, or made it up in the world.
Yes, and it wasn't someone that like I knew, but I feel like I went through there so many times that they're like, "Hey, you're that film guy who always has meetings here."
Yeah, I mean, I guess one of the probably one of the weirdest. Well, I won't say weird, but one of the things that. Well, me working as a PA, and I know that there was this one time y'all sent me out to. It was at Joe Mora's house when we were filming a few scenes there. Anyway, y'all sent me out to get Wendy's. I was there for 40. Well,
Oh yeah, yeah. It took them a minute.
I mean, I think it was like 45 minutes to an hour, but whenever, like when I came back, everything was cold, and y'all were like, "No, this food sucks." And I'm like,
What are you talking about? I love Wendy's. I love Wendy's.
"Oh, you gotta remember."
They don't sponsor me or endorse me, but I love Wendy's. I enjoy Wendy's food.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
So if Wendy's wants to either sponsor me or endorse me, they know where to find me. Just saying.
All right. Well, one second. Maybe trying to trying to think because I know there's probably a few more stories that I want to that I want to ask that are rolling around somewhere in here. Um, Darn it. Well,
What you thinking? What you thinking?
I don't know. It's like it's been a long day. I mean, it's been like no joke. It's been like 7 degrees up here the whole day,
Oh yeah,
and it's like I've been in the house all day today. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not going outside.
I feel that.
Um.
I feel that. I mean, it's not. I can't say it's 7 degrees here because it's not. It's like, was it 47? I think.
Oh my God.
No, it's 38. 38 here in St. Augustine, which is still colder than I'm used to. But um, I mean, I usually like to go out for walks in the evening if I can, and then I'll sometimes take calls because I'm usually working till like 10, 11, sometimes midnight. And so getting to walk in there helps get the blood flowing, get the ideas moving, and then I come back and I'm just like working until I pass out, which is usually the case.
Hmm. Well, darn it. Sorry. I mean, I feel like I need to have more questions, but well, I guess maybe
Maybe
one of the
more
things
coffee. Not alcohol, but more coffee.
more, yeah. Um, well, I guess. Well, I've already asked if you're gonna do anything in the future. With, like, I mean, but is there like been like any particular type of project you thought about doing that is maybe centric to downtown St. Augustine?
I mean, not from a film production standpoint. Most of what I'm doing now is in corporate, commercial, that world, um, and like events and things like that. I don't really do much in the film world per se as much as I used to. Um, but because like again, most of what I'm doing in the corporate stuff is it's all like paying my bills, keeping me financially sustained, hoping to be able to purchase a house here in the next year, and all that stuff, and be able to really just kind of double down on building the life that I want to live for myself. Um, and so far, filmmaking has not provided that financially. So it kind of needed to be a lifestyle change, and ever since I decided to make that change after the fall, things have just kind of like I'm getting opportunities that I didn't even know existed like a year ago, and getting paid to take part in them, which is really fantastic. Um, but it's like, had I not doubled down on the corporate commercial side, um, I wouldn't have been able to like leverage that essentially. So I'm really grateful that I did. But I mean, is there a part of me that will miss the film industry? Yes, even though I still have my toe dipped in it, and I'm still getting some projects that I'm working on every now and again. Just shot a feature film down in Tampa called Broken. It's directed by Anthony Penny. They're looking to release it next year, I believe. And we're already in talks on doing his next film, which is really really cool. So it's like there's things moving. There are pieces moving. There are things that I've kind of got my fingers in and that I'm attached to, that are developing, but it's not really all here in Florida. Um, I'm trying to branch out a little bit more as far as films go, and just seeing where I can be of service, whether that's cinematography, whether that's editing, whether that's just coming in as a consulting producer or things like that. But if it's the right project, then I'll come on as a producer. But it's just a matter of, does it make business sense? Is it a good script? Is it a good project? Things like that. So I take those more on a case by case basis, but my company can take on those types of production requirements and post production, editing, things like that.
Hmm. Anyway, sorry, I thought I heard something going on outside. So I guess really, since you've kind of branched out, so I mean, what's been the coolest part about working on said feature films that you're not, you know, but you are working on? Yes.
Well, what's really cool is that I'm getting paid to work on them, which is awesome. But outside of that, I was actually just on a call before this, and we were talking about something to the extent of, if you want to be busy, be a cinematographer. If you want more free time, sort of, be a director. Because cinematographers, they're really only needed for the time that you're shooting, and maybe to answer questions before and after, and create the shot list in pre-production. Um, excuse me. But if you're directing, then it's like you're on one project for like 2 years. So and then if that project dies, so at some point along the line, you're screwed, basically. But if you're a cinematographer, as long as you get through production, you should get paid, right? if that's the work arrangement. I mean, so I've worked with cinematographers that work for free. I've worked with cinematographers that work for discounted rates. I've shot films for free. I've shot films for pay. It just depends on the project, on what makes business sense, and of course other negotiation aspects that come into the picture. But it's like what's it called? It just depends. It's like where do you want to focus your time, right? So for me, my time is super valuable. I value that above almost everything else. Um, and so it's like if I'm spending my time here, I'm not spending it somewhere else, and somewhere else could be paying me more than what this is paying me. But if this has a potential for a higher long-term return on investment, then there's factors like that that come into play. So it's just kind of building the life that you want, essentially, and getting very specific and very serious about what you want out of life, because then you can direct yourself towards that. And for me, that just happens to no longer be being full time in the film world.
Hmm. Interesting. Very interesting. Um. Hmm. I was going to ask some. Sorry, Ben. Matt, why am I calling you Ben? Anyway, but yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things that yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
Um.
Do you have any more questions for me on anything? I mean, we can talk about business, we can talk about whatever, but I mean, are there any other questions that you think that the viewers would benefit from?
Well. Um. I guess I mean I've just been kind of like wanting to or been wanting to hear more about like the film industry, especially maybe where it's headed, or at least I guess really where is the Florida film industry headed? Like in your opinion, and where do you think it's going to go with maybe within the next 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenging question because I have a very limited purview over my little tiny block of, say, land that is the Florida film industry. It's like I have no idea what's going on in Miami, like as far as like film industry goes. I know that they've got some shows probably that are filming. Music scene's pretty big. I mean, Orlando, you've got Disney and some projects that are filming in that area. Tampa, I know, has some film incentives going on. It's like across the board, we've got little pockets of, I mean, independent film is doing pretty good, I would say, from what I've seen. There's a lot of people that are wanting to make things and make films, but from the aspect of like looking at Atlanta, looking at New York, looking at LA, there's a lot of, it's just like those are the established hubs, right? It's like you trying to become someone big here. Like you can be a big name in Florida, but a small fish in Atlanta, right?
Hmm.
And it's just like it becomes of what do you want to be? Do you want to be a big fish in a small pond? There was I forget who I was talking to, but I was once called as a filmmaker that has done what I've done in Florida. They called me a barracuda in a pond the size of a Dixie cup, and I was like, all right, interesting metaphor. But it was like I was doing films. I was a pretty known name for a time. I mean, I've probably fallen out of being known a whole lot, but um, I'm okay with that, right? Is it's like the people that need to know me in the film industry, they do. The ones that want to know me find me, which is good, and the ones that don't need me, we don't talk, and that's cool too. It's like the big thing though that I would encourage people in Florida to think about when they're doing filmmaking, just in general, is and this has kind of been a debate that I get into with a lot of people is, are you doing a Florida film or are you doing a film in Florida? Because it's two different things. I know a lot of people that are doing Florida films, which is cool. There's a market for those. But if you're doing a film in Florida, then that's usually what the ones that I've seen go a little bit further than a local theater kind of thing. But again, it's sometimes it's in the cards, sometimes it's not. I can't speak to their situations, um, either for the project, their connections, or financially. But I do see a lot of people that are hungry and that are doing the best they can with what they have, and that's really where the magic happens.
Yeah, that is true. It kind of brings me back to a pamphlet I once saw when I was coming back home to Florida at the time. It was just kind of just like where all the different films had taken like place like over the last 50 years maybe. I don't know, kind of made me think, what you said about Florida being a pocket, having its pockets. I mean, you have, a lot of these blockbuster films that, some were filmed, all the way up at the, up in the panhandle out in the middle of nowhere. But then you also have like, also, it's like those same, the Keys. I mean, just a lot of
Oh yeah,
fascinating, but anyway, yeah, Florida is a wonderful, I don't know. I don't think that they'll, ever be like Atlanta size, but I feel like they will
I
probably.
mean, you never know. We're seeing a lot of people leaving from New York and California for reasons that aren't film related. But the point of that being is that we're getting a lot of people that are coming here that are looking for something that we have essentially here in Florida. And as people move, there's going to be more creativity that's coming here just naturally. So and the fact that the way that Florida handles finances and the economy, in my opinion, again, this is just my opinion. People might come after me to cancel me, but economically speaking, I feel like we're much better off than California. Um,
Yeah,
so that being said, it's like there's the melting pot or whatever it is coming together for something that could lead to something like in Atlanta, maybe down in Orlando, maybe down in Miami. Um, I mean, who knows? But again, I've been my purview on the situation, my scope, my little perch up here isn't that big. So I'm only granted a small scope of a much bigger picture of the Florida film industry, but who knows?
hmm. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Speaking of, darn it. Speaking of big fish in a small pond or barracuda, I really like that barracuda in a Dixie cup. It makes me think about well back here, and I guess this is kind of one of those things that maybe people, they think like, oh, someone's doing working in this really cool film, but then it's like if you're somebody in the film industry that knows how to like read in between the lines, or like, do you really want to? Do you really want that broadcast? But anyway, what was going on is someone from my hometown had just for protective reasons, they were an assistant editor on this really, really big time film that just recently came out. And anyway, I'm just like, an assistant editor, is now, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but it isn't like just an assistant editor. An assistant editor is more or less like an over glorified PA.
I mean, it really just kind of depends on the contract. I mean, assistant editors they're necessary. It's a necessary part of the post production process. But I mean, if it's a smaller project, maybe it's not necessary. But I mean, it's. When was the last time that you sat around in the credits and looked at, you know what, I really like the assistant editor on this project.
Never.
I like it's cool. It's a great opportunity and experience because like truth be told, I have a really great friend out west who's been involved in a lot of like bigger projects. Like um, I remember I will always remember the day he texted me. He's like, "Bro, guess what?" I was like, "What?" He's like, "I'm watching Hobbs and Shaw right now without any special effects, and it's really weird." And I was like, "What?" Like, yeah, man, I'm sitting here, Fast and Furious, Hobbs and Shaw, watching Dwayne Johnson pull down a helicopter without any VFX. I was like, you do realize what you just texted me, right? And it's like he's worked with some higher ups at Universal. He's done some stuff with HBO. What was it called? He was telling me that he worked on or he did some work with like Ford versus Ferrari, Knives Out, the original Knives Out back in whatever year that was, and something else. But he's working on those projects and he continues to do so to this day. And he was just on I think four films that he worked on are screening at Sundance, and he's going there to represent them. But it's like, but I will always remember we met for drinks at one of my favorite places here in Jacksonville, just to catch up because he had come back. I forget when this was. It might have been like after COVID or like after a lot of the lockdown. So it was between now and like 20 like it was I think we meant like 2021 when this conversation happened. But I was like, dude, like because he came from Green Cove, right? He moved from Green Cove to LA and is now doing all this. And I was like, dude, I envy you. Like you're doing at the time. I was like, I envy you because you're working on these projects. You're doing pretty much what I would love to do at 2021 me. But then he's like, dude, no, I envy you. And I was like, what? Like it just caught me so off guard. And he had said something along the lines of he's like, you get creative freedom. Like you can do your content, you can do your media, whatever. It's like you can do what you want. Basically, but he's like, I have to tell a story that's written for me in a sense. And I was like, you know what? That makes sense. And so we're both really great friends. We both have an immense amount of respect for each other. I have an immense amount of respect for him and what he's doing. And it's awesome to see the success that he's been experiencing, but the fact that he also said what he said of he's like, I envy you and what you're doing because you can do what you want to do. Like that just kind of like hit me like a freight train because I was like, what? It's like so that kind of also got me considering, and then now it's like in a way I kind of see what he said or what he was saying because of the life that I'm leading, the opportunities that I have now, and being able to basically be my own boss, create my own lifestyle, and work from wherever the camera is needed.
Oh, definitely. Well, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, brother. I mean, I envy you too. I mean, it's I mean, hell, I'm well, no, I don't think they'll. Anyway, I mean, crap. I think when I first met you, I think I was maybe 27, 27. Go no, 27 going on 28. And it's like it made like seeing what you were doing at the time made me realize that I have the ideas. I am just lazy, and I was able to accept that self, or I was able to accept that within myself, and as a result of that I got up and I started putting forth more effort. I guess maybe that's why Dream Poet is a semi decent YouTube channel, is because I've kind of found what people like in that regard.
Oh yeah.
But
I
I
mean,
mean,
to the same extent, it's like you got to ask yourself, how many people in the world have $1 million idea?
I would say
How many?
many.
How many? How many? Pick a number.
I am guessing a few million people.
Okay.
Probably about
Well,
if
well, I read something, right? We just passed 8 billion people on Earth, right?
yeah,
So 8 billion people have $1 million idea. Do you know how many have $1 million execution?
very few.
The 1%. And like like the way that I see it is, it's like Elon Musk. Say what you will about him, think what you want about him. It's not something that we're discussing today, but he's got trillion dollar ideas, I would say, and he's got billion-dollar execution, and we can see that in a day-to-day basis in what he does with Tesla and SpaceX and all that stuff, and now Twitter. Um, but it's like at the grand scheme of things, I have $1 million $1 million ideas right now. I've got six-figure execution, and so it's like you got to look at your like the scripts that you're writing, the stories that you're telling. Are they $1 million ideas? Are they six-figure ideas? Are they $10 ideas? But as long as your execution matches the scope of your idea, then you don't have anything to worry about. But so many people have $1 million idea, have a six-figure idea, but they have pennies execution, if they have execution at all. And that's where I think the big disconnect happens, because so many people want something, but not as many people are willing to go out and get it. And just in the economy in the world right now, I'm seeing an alarming increase in people that are asking for handouts, and a lot of people that are unwilling to work for what they want, and playing the victim mentality. And I feel like I'm gonna get canceled just by saying victim mentality, but it happens. Um, but like at the same time, right? Is it's like, I mean, sure that might trigger some people, whatever. Um, yeah, but it's like I work for what I have. I work very hard to live the life that I lead. And some people think I'm making $1 million. Some people think that I'm posing. But just like we said at the beginning of the show, yesterday they hated me. Today they love me. Both days I got paid. Tomorrow I don't know what they'll think about me. But as long as as long as I'm providing good service, as long as I'm doing something that I enjoy and making good money from it, and making the people that I work with grow and develop and build in the process, it's a win-win-win-win.
Yep. Yep. Well, we have finally come to the end of this conversation. Anyway, Matt, thank you for coming on. Greatly appreciate you. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close things out. But
Awesome,
anyway,
awesome.
guys, thank you all for staying posted and staying tuned with me and my close friend here, Matthew Manyak, a genius in the filmmaking industry, or at least as I like to see him. Anyway, remember, you guys, stay posted, stay tuned. Love you all very much. Podcast over.